Great. So we have a very interesting session coming up right now. But before that, I have to inform you that you should have your cell phones handy for this session because we're going to have some live polls during the session. So keep your phones handy. There'll be a code displayed on the screen. You have to go on to menti.com and you have to take the poll, and basis the poll results, there's going to be discussions that happen as well. So for the next session, this session particularly has a very interesting name. I'm sure a lot of you must have seen in the agenda. So this is called Battleground Data. CDO versus CIO versus CTO. So are we ready for this session? All right. So now I would like to invite the panelists for this session one by one. Mr. Kapil Sharma, Chief Transformation Officer at Microsoft. Next we have Ms. Krithika Muthukrishnan, Chief Data Science Officer at Scripbox. Third, we have Mr. Varun Thamba, Director, Data and Analytics, Center of Excellence at SAP. And now, to moderate this discussion, may I call upon stage Ms. Sheena George, Partner at EY. Over to you, Ms. George.
Everyone able to hear me? Okay. Warm welcome, everyone. Thanks for this session. This is post-lunch, so need you all to be awake because what Kaustav has done is created a classwork for all of us, which he talked about, right? So this is what times to be in, right? It's great times. Someone was telling it's the best time to be young. Some was saying it's the best time to work in India. It's the best time for data. It's the best time for transformation. It's the best time for our country. But really, what we're seeing is the rise of the data-driven enterprise. And companies like the Facebook, the Amazon, Microsoft have really taught us how data is being mined to really transform businesses, people, and processes, right? But what we're going to talk about today is what's the outcome of all of that, and one interesting segment about that in terms of what are these different roles that are mushrooming and becoming very prevalent in the industry. So we're hearing roles like the Chief Transformation Officer, Chief Technology Officer, the CIO, we have Chief Data Science Officer, there's a Data and Analytics Leader, so many different roles. How are all these roles relevant? Is one mushrooming into another? Is it for the bigger enterprises? Is it only for the startups? Or is it for the more common, widely prevalent industries today? These are some of the things that we're going to discuss. And we have all these different roles represented here in my panelists here today. And what Kaustav has very cleverly done is kept us all quite far apart, so there's really no battle happening in real time, though he's called it Battleground Data, etc. But coming back, what we're really seeing is every day the world is producing about 5 exabytes of data. That is about 2.5 billion gigabytes. And the prediction is in another 5 to 7 years, we'll probably produce every day what we produce in a year today, right? So that's kind of the storage capacity and the data prevalency that we're going to see. And what we're going to cover today first is that little Mentimeter, which Kaustav talked about, where we'll try to understand what you think about all these different roles, whether they're relevant, which needs to stay and which needs to go maybe. But over to you, Kaustav.
Yeah. Can we all log into menti.com, and the code is displayed on all of the 4 screens here. So if you can't see, I'll just read out the code. It's 2193947. I repeat, 2193947. So you can cast your votes and then we'll see the results.
There's request for the code to be repeated.
Can we have the code back up?
Two one nine three
it's-
nine four seven.
Yes, 2193947.
Costa, where are the teams seated, like team analytics, team data, where are they?
We'll have to do a poll separately, like by the hand, I think, for that.
Okay. So they're spread across.
I hope they don't start fighting amongst themselves, though. All right, so this question is, who leads data for new product development and innovation in an organization? In case you could not see the question on screen, right now team analytics is winning this one. Next one, who leads data insights for customer experience in an organization? All right, so who leads data for improving revenue streams or monetization of data assets in an organization?
Are there any prizes after this, Costa?
I'm just the MC. Yeah.
So we're going to get started into the discussion, but just in case you thought that the classroom work was over and you could go off to sleep, I'd recommend that you keep a ear open for what we are discussing, because what Costa has done is he has kept another classwork after the discussion based on the discussion. So you may want to keep an eye out and ear out for what you're going to discuss. But warm welcome to my panelists here, and we have quite an interesting topic. We saw what the answers were coming. But I'll quickly dive and go first with you, Kapil. Chief Transformation Officer. Now, transformation is a very big word, right? It encompasses multiple things. You can interpret it very differently, and it's a very big hat to carry. But what I really want to dive into here is, what is the role that data is playing in that transformation journey?
Great. Thank you for the question, Sheena. So, transformation, as you said, is quite a loaded word. It can be anything. It can be transforming the company, transforming how we go to market, transforming how our people and our culture is evolving. And by the way, it's all of it, in my opinion, starting with your people, your culture, and then of course what you take to market and how your customers perceive it. Data, in my opinion, plays a kind of vital role in really giving the direction and guidance to the business in terms of understanding what is it that you need to really transform. By the way, not everything that is a problem or a challenge out there needs to be transformed as well. That's the fundamental question that businesses need to ask themselves. And what they do need to transform and evolve is what the data should be telling them very clearly. So at Microsoft, of course, we eat our own dog food. We have been creators of data platform ourselves for decades. And one of the foundational part of what we do in the transformation office is look at long-range trends of how our customers are evolving, how our ecosystems are evolving, be it our partners, our ISV ecosystems, and so forth. And really kind of pulling data from a multitude of sources, right? From our customers giving us feedback, to how our partners feel about our organization, how we are engaging with them. Also our people, who are quite critical to the success that we create for our customers and partners. But data is as good as how data is used and sliced and diced and what comes out of it. So for us, it's about using our power platforms, all of our insights tools that we have built on top of it to really try and understand what we have seen over the last 5 years, 3 years period, how it's going to evolve for us going forward, how our customers are going to change their buying decisions, how new markets and new industries are going to come up, and also really what our people want from a culture perspective. We all have seen the fact that the world has become hybrid. Remote first is the norm. Organizations are challenged today to attract, retain talent. We were just having a conversation earlier in terms of how being in the office is all about return of experience rather than something else today. So we use a lot of the insights that we capture from different sources and make sure that we are building our momentum around two things. A, we look at our kind of North Star, what our principal objective as an organization is. And we take the data insights that are coming through and marry that together and say, well, if those two are aligned, then that's something we need to really go and address tomorrow. Everything else for us is noise. So my kind of parting thought on that is, we can be inundated with data. We are inundated with data. My personal pet is when someone sends me 10 views of a single topic, sliced and diced. I don't like to see that because we can get analysis paralysis also looking at a lot of data. So how do we simplify data, make it relevant, and then really take critical action is what I look for when we look at transformation.
Thank you, Kapil. Thank you for that. And just to summarize, I think what you said there is what to transform. Data can help, give insights into what to transform in the first place, because there are things you don't want to go after. There could be things you want to go after, and deciding what the right things to do could itself be from the data, right? Thank you so much, Kapil. And I'm going to quickly come to you, Krithika. Chief Data Science Officer. It's probably one of the most sought after titles today in the world that we live in. So kudos to you for that. But really, if you could tell us what that entails, how it differs from something like what Kapil was talking about, and how this role is influencing the success or failure of the data science initiatives that an organization would have.
Sure. Thanks. Before I just address your question, I wanted to ask how many of you have used the OpenAI chat? Yeah? And it's so awesome that it feels like you're talking to a human. And if you have not, I suggest that you go and try it. Right? And the reason I bring this is I think one of the key roles of the Chief Data Science Officer is to bring focus. Right? So the scope of data science is so wide. You can start from operational MIS and dashboard to product analytics, all the way to growth. And different stakeholders will expect different things. And you'll find yourself stretched between this really operational stuff and some fantasy projects, which are really not going to happen now. Right? So, and that is really the Chief Data Science Officer's valley of death. And so one of the key roles of a data science officer is to help stakeholders in the organization, be a change agent, and help them identify, what are those areas which are going to give the bang for the buck for the organization. Help them see what data science can do, and then get that real focus. We talk about key results or OKRs, right? So really figure out what does the data science function supposed to do, because you can get lost with the amount of scope that's there. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would kind of add to that is, building the capability, right? And so we all know that hiring data engineers, data scientists is tough, but you can get them, there are different models to hire them, etc. But the more important thing is most of these people are highly intelligent doers, right? So if you put them in boxes and say, oh, you're a data engineer, build a data pipeline, you're a data scientist, just look at the AI model, they're going to feel disenchanted. So it's really about empowering them, right? So you need to break and create that culture of innovation where not just this team, your team, but also the team outside is being able to say, okay, I can try out things, I can fail, but the next time I can learn from this. So, hey, this is a great data set, this is another data set, let me pull it together and build a model, right? So you really need to empower them, and that's what actually helps you build a great capability and attract the right talent, because then they're in that team of swirl, as I call it, right? So they can really create the impact. I'll just add one last thing. I'm sure a lot of people have talked about governance, and I'm not going to talk about data governance at all. But there's another form of governance, which is data monetization governance, right? So I have been in a meeting, and this is early in my data science career. I've been in data science itself for now for about 15 years. But early in my analytics data science career, when you're in a team, you're in a meeting, and there are 3 different reports or 3 different analyses on the same thing saying different things. You got to avoid that, right? And that happens because of data silos, right? So you've got to really govern, identify the data that you're going to monetize, and make sure that that's governed and centralized and used from one source. How are people maybe using it? But that's the data to trust, right? So these are things that I would kind of say.
Thanks, Krithika. So from what you said, what resonated with me were words like empowerment, innovation, and lastly, governance in terms of monetizing data. Thank you for those insights and those inputs. Varun, I'm going to quickly come to you. Varun is, ladies and gentlemen, Data Analytics Center of Excellence, SAP. And going by the poll that we had here, I think you have a lot of supporters here, analytics team. But how does this role play out in the context of all that we discussed, Varun?
Got it. I really liked when Krithika mentioned the data silos, and I would say a crusader who tries to eliminate that. And the reason why, as SAP, the company that I represented, is important for us is because if you look at a system of record, which an SAP system typically is, which most of you would be aware, is managing your finance, procurement, supply chain, logistics related system of record, right? And over a period of time, analytics that an organization cared about, or the C-suite cared about, sat within that world of SAP. So we had a SAP, we had a business warehouse, we had analytics on top of it, some basic forecasting and ML on top of it, and we never bothered about the other side of the world where there was innovation happening. So for me, then, that actually brought in 2 silos. One was the system of record, which is SAP. Then there was also a system of innovation, which was happening outside in the likes of Microsoft, right? Now, how does that 2 worlds get bridged? How do we, or who is the driver within the organization who bridges the system of record and a system of innovation? And when we started doing this with some of our strategic customers in the subcontinent, we realized that the driver has to come from top. So even from the question, from the mentee, one of the things, if there was an option, I would have, voted for that, was business, right? So what COVID is doing in terms of making us adapt to remote work and to make Teams a huge success is also what business does to IT, analytics and data teams. Business is really what you call a sutradhar, right? Which brings all of these roles together to solve for a business outcome, which ultimately solves for your top line, bottom line, or your green line today in the sustainability world. Now, where was this challenge lying? the CIO was typically somebody who was in charge of a platform like SAP. There were data scientists who were there, who were extracting data from everywhere. There was some, analytics people who were getting this data and trying to get some insight to the board. And it exactly went the same direction as Krithika was pointing out, to say everybody has a different source of truth and everybody has beaten the data hard enough so that the data is telling their version of the truth. Right? And that becomes the reality in board meetings. And that's where SAP's fundamental thought process here, and where my role comes in, working with our customers, is to say, how does SAP's business technology and business technology platform unify the system of record and system of innovation to have one single platform which enables you to drive business outcome. And that business outcome might be, and maybe I'm a little biased, but I always think it's about 75% system of record, 35%, 60, 25% system of innovation or the OT systems, right? Because in terms of a transaction system like a CRM or a ERP, your data volume is very less. But in terms of value, it is worth its weight in gold. Whereas if you go to the outside, like social media, you look at IoT and stuff, the volume of data is very high in petabytes and zettabytes. But the value of data to a transaction there is maybe a 20. So maybe a 75-25 or an 80-20 is where that weightage of data in terms of value and volume lies. But then if those two worlds are able to come together, the value is infinite, right? It's not just 100, but it explodes. And there is really, the gold mine that transactional companies who are having a outside system of record and a outside system of innovation are missing out on. So if there's one thing, where my role comes in as a data and analytics center of excellence for the subcontinent, working very closely with some of our strategic partners, with the, with the startups of the country and all of that, is to really help the enterprises of today embrace technology to drive business outcome. And if you see the numbers, like, we say that 3 out of 4 financial transaction in the world runs out of an SAP system, right? 10 out of 12 liters of beer that is brewed in the world runs out of an SAP system. So we have multiple scenarios like that. So SAP is a fundamental backbone. But how do we make that a gold mine available to business outcome is really, where my role comes in. I hope I was able to answer your question and give where I am biased towards why the business user was not there in the poll itself. Thanks.
Definitely a bias towards SAP. But thank you so much, Kapil, Krithika, and Varun, for this conversation. So what I would take away is that one role is about bringing the transformation element, deciding which problems to go after, and actually taking it to the shop floor and getting it executed. Another role is looking at innovation, is looking at monetizing, right? More outward focus. Another role could be more about how to bring it all together using analytics and insights, right, and eliminating silos. So great learning for me, and I think now we're coming to the next classroom exercise from Kaustav, who's not to be seen. So are we doing that?
I'm right here. Yes. We have the next code up for all of you. So yes, you know the drill now. You have to go to menti.com and enter the new code. For anyone who cannot see it, it's 53298909. I repeat, 53298909. Has everyone managed to log in? Is everyone logged in?
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet, okay. We'll just give it a minute more. Yes, I guess everyone's logged in by now. Can I hear a yes from everyone? Yes. Great, awesome. So yes, let's start voting. Can we have the first question? All right, they're just setting up the question, and it's going to come up now. I think there may be a slight technical glitch, so they're sorting it out at the back end. So we'll just give it a minute.
You just shut down and restart.
I thought that was
That-
the old IT solution. The chief data scientist officer also gives the same solution.
It still works. It's like God.
Kapil, there's a comment needed.
All
from
right,
you.
we have the first question here. Who's the master custodian of data in an organization? All right, team data is going up.
Yeah, it is the same question. And the idea was to see what the before and after is.
Yes.
Yeah. What I said earlier was just to keep you all awake.
So team data now, I think, has gone up more. The other two have come down a little from what I recall
Yes,
from
it
the
has.
last one.
Yeah.
All right then, moving on to the next one. Who leads data for new product development and innovation in an organization? So we have team analytics again in the lead for this. But this time I see people are more sure about what they believed in. So more, and they have converted a few more to their side, which is why the skyscrapers have started going up much more. All right, so the third question, who leads data insights for customer experience in an organization? Team analytics is just climbing. It's gone through the roof now. Oh, we've touched the first 100. And that's a century. Great, great. I think we have some very definitive responses this time. Now, going to the last question, which is who leads data for improving revenue streams, monetization of data assets in an organization? So we have team analytics at 64, 68, 70, 72, 77, 78. I think we've reached a peak. Right?
All right.
Yes, so that brings us to the end of the second poll. The same poll repeated the second time. So I now hand it back to you.
Thank you, Kaustav. Krithika, Kapil, and Varun, I'm going to ask you, what would you have answered to this? Do you agree and do you want to have a take on the questions? Krithika, it's to you.
To me? Okay. I'm a bit confused between team data and team analytics, right? So I think the two should sit in the same team.
Yeah,
So-
you definitely have to poach from the analytics team.
Correct. So I'm really struggling to draw the line between the two, but I would broadly say that the audience is right.
Okay. Would you agree, Kapil?
Yeah, I think we clearly saw a tilt towards team data on a repoll, right? So I think some of the perspectives did change there. I also believe the question wasn't here, but I would say the CIO's org is really responsible for driving innovation in the organization, right? So, so that would be another thought process that I would have, because ultimately they are driving the next set of long-range outcomes that the business needs to create. But I think the audience have got it this time pretty accurate.
Thank you, Kapil. Varun,
Yeah,
what do
I
you...
absolutely agree as well. I think
No, before you answer, the first question is where the maximum tilt happened. Right, earlier for the first time, the poll for the first question, which is who's the master custodian in an organization for data, there were 24 votes for team analytics, and in the second poll, only 7 for team analytics.
Absolutely, and I think that is also maybe because of the conversation that we have been having. I think for me, it's always a step. IT provides the data team prepares the data and gives it to the analytics team, and analytics team really derives what it is. And if you look at it tops down, the analytics team really asks the data team what they want, and the IT team provides them in a governed manner. So I think as the questions progress, even I agreed with most of the options, and I most importantly definitely believe that everybody has a very specific boundary to play, but those boundaries are increasingly blurring. And then, but of course, as an organization, we win, or we all win, only if we all look at it as a one team with one dream.
It definitely reflects the state of how the teams are organized in many organizations in India today. That's what I think it's reflecting. But great discussion. I hope it was insightful for all of you. Definitely it was for me. Thank you so much once again, Krithika, Varun and Kapil. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Back to you, Costa.
A huge thank you again. I need you on stage for a couple of more minutes. We have a couple of small mementos for each of our panelists and our moderator, of course. So can I call upon stage C. Ramalingam, our Senior Director of Product and Operations, to hand out the mementos. Mr. Varun Thamba. Can we have a round of applause for everyone for such a beautiful session? Ms. Krithika. And finally, our amazing moderator here, Ms. Sheena George. Can we have a huge round of applause for all four of them?